Hi, everyone. I'm Hope, and today I want to talk about something that feels subtle, but hits hard: the illusion of financial control. Have you ever felt completely in control of your money until one week changed everything? You had a plan, you were tracking, you were budgeting. Maybe you even told yourself, I've got this. And then suddenly, you didn't. Nothing dramatic happened. You didn't book a vacation, you didn't make a reckless purchase, you didn't mess up, but something shifted. And it made you question yourself. Am I bad with money? Did I miss something? Why does this feel unstable? Let's slow that down, because maybe you didn't miss anything. Maybe control was never what you thought it was. We're taught that financial control means discipline, tracking expenses, setting budgets, sticking to categories, reviewing statements. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But those tools explain the past. They don't forecast pressure. You can be organized, you can be disciplined, you can be responsible, and still be structurally unstable. That's the illusion. Control feels real until timing exposes the gaps. Let me give you a simple example. Your balance looks healthy, you've been careful, but rent hits on the 1st, insurance on the 3rd, utilities on the 5th. 2 subscriptions renew on the 7th, and your paycheck arrives on the 10th. Nothing irresponsible happened, but everything landed before income. That compression creates tension, and tension becomes stress, not emotional stress, structural stress. But here's the problem. Structural stress feels personal. When pressure appears suddenly, your brain doesn't say, oh, this is a timing misalignment. It says, I messed up. That's where confidence collapses. And once confidence collapses, behavior changes. You might avoid checking your account, delay a payment, overcorrect and restrict everything, or panic. And panic rarely improves outcomes. But notice something important. The instability wasn't caused by spending, it was caused by clustering. Clustering of obligations, clustering before income, compression of flexibility. Control based only on tracking can't see compression building. It sees totals, but it doesn't see timing relationships. And timing relationships are what determine stability. Here's another subtle truth. Balance is static. Pressure is dynamic. You might see $1,500 in your account. That number feels reassuring. But if $1,200 leaves before your next paycheck, that stability was temporary. Balance tells you what exists. Timing tells you what survives. And most of us were never taught to think about money that way. We were taught behavior, not structure. Now, let's talk about something called runway. Runway is not how long until you're broke. It's how many days until structural instability begins. You can have money in the bank and still have short runway. That's the part that surprises people, because visually, everything looks fine, but structurally, compression is building. And compression builds quietly. You don't feel it forming until you do. That moment when things feel tight, even though nothing extreme happened, is usually the result of compression that went unseen. This is why financial confidence can feel fragile. You think you're in control, then pressure appears, and the gap between expectation and reality creates self-doubt. But real control isn't about perfect behavior. It's about predictability. Real control means knowing when pressure starts, when it peaks, when it ends. It means understanding recovery. Recovery visibility is powerful. If you know stability returns on the 18th, you feel different than if recovery feels undefined. Undefined stress feels permanent. Defined stress feels temporary. And that difference matters psychologically. The illusion of control is built on habits. The reality of control is built on timing. You can follow every rule you set for yourself and still feel blindsided if you can't see what's ahead. That's why clarity changes behavior naturally. When you see pressure forming 12 days ahead of time, you respond differently. You don't react emotionally. You adjust mechanically. You move things calmly. You don't feel ambushed. Surprise is what breaks control. Surprise is what creates panic. And panic narrows thinking. Narrow thinking leads to worse decisions. Worse decisions create more compression. It becomes a cycle. Visibility interrupts that cycle. Once pressure has shape, a start, a peak, and a recovery, it becomes manageable. Not comfortable, but manageable. That's a big difference. Let's reflect for a moment. If you've ever felt financially steady one week and unstable the next, It may not have been discipline. It may not have been spending. It may have been timing. And timing doesn't care about your spreadsheet. It cares about alignment, income alignment, obligation alignment, flexibility alignment. Control without visibility is fragile. Control with visibility is stable. That's the distinction. You don't need perfection to feel stable. You need predictability. And predictability comes from understanding structure, not judging yourself, not restricting everything, not trying harder, just seeing clearly. Because once you can see pressure before it hits, you stop blaming yourself for structural patterns. You stop questioning your capability. You start moving intentionally. That's real control. Not rigid control, not restrictive control. Clarity-based control. And that's the shift. The illusion of financial control is thinking that tracking the past protects you. Real financial control comes from understanding what's coming. I'm Hope. And this is the Monimate podcast. See pressure early. Stay in control. Join us next week for a new episode, and don't forget to subscribe.